It seems the connection is good. You can see and you can hear me. So before I start, I want to let you know that... oh, sorry, there was a delay. My apologies. I'm still figuring this one as I go. So what I'm gonna do chess.com tactics. As you can see, my highest rating was this one, and this is my current one. So I started from scratch because at that level the puzzles are really difficult and not instructive and very hard to manage during live stream, let's say. So I'm just gonna go ahead and press start, and I'm gonna do puzzles and explain what I think as I go. All right, so it's white to move. We have same number of pieces. Both queens are hanging. If I take that queen, bishop takes, we have even material, but I can give a check first. The king is exposed to checks, so I'm gonna give check first. Then I need to save my queen with a check, and then I take that one. 21 points I got for that one. Привет. All right, let's move on to the next one. Themes, I don't know, themes. So the reason why this puzzle worked, because the king was exposed to checks and the queen was hanging. That's pretty much it. Next one. What do we have here? Same number of pieces. Well, one pawn up, but who cares? Undefended rook. Alignment of heavy pieces here and here. And what forcing moves do I have? I have f6 forcing move, f4, but it doesn't make much sense. So f6, queen takes f6 is the only move. Otherwise the queen is lost. Queen g4, another check. So king is under check and the rook on d7 is hanging. So that king has to go somewhere. If king goes to h8, I give intermediate check on e8 and win. And if king goes to f8, I use rook f5 alignment of pieces. So there you go. Check. So here what I used was that the rook was undefended, the king was exposed to checks, and well, alignment was in the first place, and now there's another alignment and the game is over. Less points because I'm guessing I didn't spend the time they want me to spend on a puzzle, which is 36, target time 36 seconds. All right, one more. Oh wow. Okay, this is just mate in 3. I don't want to discuss this one. Queen and takes. This is not interesting. Moving on to the next one. Okay, similar situation. Both queens are hanging. Black is materially down because white has 2 pieces for our rook. So this is a desperado situation. So the queens are crazy, you know, I take, queen takes. So if I take the queen, the rook would take, and that is it. By the way, you're welcome to ask questions. So I need to do something with this queen. I can take the knight or I can take the rook. So first move, I'm gonna take the rook and see what happens. So if white takes, I take the queen. If queen h5 check, I have g6. That is enough. Queen g7. I have intermediate check on c2, and it seems I'm gonna checkmate that king. Or take the bishop with a check. That seems like a win to me, but I still would consider queen e5. But even takes, pawn takes, this is not a very big advantage or any advantage because b6 pawn is hanging. I just won, I'm just winning an exchange. So I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna go g6 and I'm gonna go take. So this was not the most challenging try for white. I think queen g7 was better. And then queen c2, king to e1, at least checkmate is threatening. So, but then black always have long castle. I'm guessing the castle was legal. All right, moving on to the next one. Oh wow, okay, this is just mate in 2. Okay, count the pieces. Black is significantly materially down. And now semi-protected pieces, that's the rook and that is very important. And the king has no moves and queen b1 comes with a check. And that's a mate. Not much to discuss here. Although if the rook was not semi-protected, black would just lose here. And if king had other moves, then there would be no mate. One more. Again, mate, come on. Okay, the king cannot move because of this bishop. I am, if I take, this is, I'm just recapturing whatever was there. So what forcing moves do I have? Okay, let me take it slow here. What forcing moves do I have? I have capture, and I have check, and maybe I have queen h3 with a checkmate threat. Well, obviously knight g6 leads to a mate. All right. What's going on here? Benoni type structure. Black has one pawn down. So what problems do white have in this position? Semi-protected pieces, the pawn on b2. Knight on c3 has even less defenders than attackers. What else? That's pretty... Oh, queen, of course, is not defended. So here what I see as this could be the problem, as I pointed out. But the queen doesn't like to be very in front of its pieces because it is vulnerable. It is strong, but vulnerable. If it's alone in front lines, and it's not in front lines when it comes to kingside attack, it is not good to throw your queen so far. So I think here the topic is just trap that queen. So I'm going to go bishop e5. The only square for the queen to go is c6, and I just need one more accurate move, which would be rook e to c8 or rook b to c8. I actually do not see the difference. Is there any difference? Usually it could, the devil could be in details. Black has some b4, white has b4 move, but it's just desperation. So just bishop e5. Okay, rook a1, desperate attempt. So white is trying to distract the queen because it was undefended. By the way, I forgot one more step. You should also point out the problems in your position. You don't want to miss a tactical blow yourself. So our queen, if our queen was defended, we just take this one and take the rook. But this is not the case. So we can take here, and white would go queen to c5, and we can keep on taking on b2. That looks like a win to me. I don't see any alternative because I have all the other squares except of b4. There's queen b4 move, but then white can keep attacking it. White can go queen c6, rook c1. Yeah, actually it seems queen b4 quite winning to me too, but maybe not as much winning as one might wish. Oh, I see the problem. If queen goes to b4, queen c6, rook c8, now maybe knight c2 is the problem. So I'm gonna just take that rook. Yeah, that's what they wanted me to do. All right, next one. Same number of pieces, rook is undefended, semi-protected here, x-ray here, unprotected bishop, unprotected pawn on c7, and knight f7 just simply wins with discovered, lots of discovered attacks, alignment of pieces, bishop g6, queen g6 wins the queen. Moving to the next one, again mate in a few moves. Okay, black has 2 pawns down, the rook is semi-protected, the king can barely move, and the mate is like this. One more. Oh, what a poor play on white's behalf. Black developed pieces and white just moved pawns. This is horrible. Okay, so knight on rooks are as usual undefended. The knight on g1 is semi-protected. The king is exposed to checks, but here it's just bishop d4, very typical win of material. I'm just looking, maybe I have something more. No, I don't. Just bishop to d4 and bishop takes. This is, I find this one silly. Next one. Okay, this one is more interesting. Yeah. So black is 1 piece down for 2 pawns. That pawn is very powerful. Undefended pieces. Bishop on d2 could be captured right away. On h2 semi-protected. Alignment of pieces. And our knight on g4 is very much hanging. So what forcing moves do black have? Black has queen h2. Black has rook takes d2. And black has b2. That's pretty much it. So you can reject rook d2 based on knight g4, and then our king would be in trouble, or queen g4, whatever. So b2 seems like a decent option because the pawn is almost promoting. I'm gonna put a pin in that because b2, knight takes g4, takes, bishop takes. Discover check is coming here. b2 I reject because of knight takes g4. So queen h2 it is. Queen h2, queen h2, knight h2. And if king takes h2, that's rook d2 with a winning rook ending. Yeah, I think that's just it. b2, the pawn is not promoting, b2 rook b1, and the pawn would be lost, so just take here. Only 4 points because it took me long to understand that other lines are not winning. One more. All right. Okay. So white is 1 pawn up. Black is threatening mate in 1. What problems do black have? Undefended bishop, undefended queen. King is exposed to checks on this diagonal. The pawn on d5 is semi-protected. That is pretty much it. So what forcing moves do white have, given that the mate is coming? I think there's just one, rook to f8. I don't see queen d5, it's a silly sacrifice. So rook f8, and if rook f8, I think it's just queen d5 check and queen e4, taking 2 pawns and protecting the g2 weakness. And if king takes, this is just rook is coming and then queen f7 with mate on back rank. So let me give it one more thought. Rook f8, queen d5, king h8, queen e4. This is still not the end, but the queen is covering everything and rook cannot do anything about that. So rook takes, queen takes, and queen takes. 6 points. It would take me ages to get to 3800. One more. White is 1 piece down and 1 pawn down, but all white's pieces are in the attack. Unprotected, unprotected, semi-protected, unprotected, unprotected, unprotected. Lots of unprotected pieces in black's position. So king is exposed to all kinds of checks and checkmate threats. So what forcing moves do white have? Queen e7 check 1, knight f6 2. What else? There's usually a big list of forcing moves, but I'm considering good-looking forcing moves that look good to me personally. So let's say queen e7, king g8. Let's try giving a check. Oh, it's just back rank mate. Oh my goodness. You don't need to move the knight to f6. Looks so promising, but it's actually a surprising back rank mate, I would say. Normally you want to go knight f6, attack the rook, give checks, but that's not what the solution is about. All right. Oh wow, black is significantly down materially. Okay. So we need something extraordinary. Just the king. We should hit the king. I don't care about unprotected pieces, or I'm materially down too much. But this is mate in 2. Come on. This is lit. Okay, mate in 3. Check, check, and takes. Okay, just keep checking. That was you didn't have any other checks except c4, and after bishop c3, no other checks except f1. So I don't like this. Moving on. Just do not go king c7. That's what this puzzle is about. Promote the pawn carefully. Okay. Queen takes g7, really? Okay. So I have 2 moves. Let's see the difference. Black is 1 piece down, but the pawn on e2 is about to be promoted. All right. So what is the difference? And the difference is if the king takes, king is exposed to checks, rook g1 intermediate check, and white would be in time to stop the pawn with, let's say, knight to e2 or bishop g4, attacks the pawn. But if we take with the bishop, the king is still exposed to bishop f5 check, but then we're going to take that on f5, and that would be it. So bishop g7, the main line goes like this. Rook to g1 is the best try. Rook to f1 is threatening a promotion. There's some check, but I don't care. Knight c2, and then I'm going to go bishop to d4, forcing the rook to go away. So bishop takes g7, rook e1. Oh, come on, rook g1 was a better one. Rook f1 check, and just takes. That's it? Okay, that rook g1 was a more interesting line in my opinion. All right, one more. Bishop to e5. Black has 2 pawns up. The bishop on e5 is semi-protected. The queen on h5 is unprotected. f2 pawn is loose, and there's a back rank problem, if anyone cares. Black's problems: rook, queen, and the king is a little bit exposed, so you cannot really move the knight. Okay, so if we attack the queen, just take the bishop. That should be enough. So I think just g6 is just simply winning. Do I have anything even better than that? I don't think so. So g6, white best try seems to be queen h6, queen takes e5, and then f3, at least win a piece back, but black would have like a horde of pawns attacking the king. So g6, what could I have blundered? I could have blundered that after capture, hypothetically there could be a mate on g file, but I don't see that one happening. So g6 and queen e5. All right, one more. What is this? Okay, I'm from black side. I have many passed pawns, but the rook can stop the f pawn. All right. And if I go f2 now, that would be a big mistake because rook h3 check, kicking my king away. And if I go to c4, it's rook f3. If I go to e4, it's king e2. And they keep switching roles. So I have to go check first, king c1, and then I go f2, and then I go with the king and promote. And I should be one tempo faster than white. Let me calculate. c2, king c1, f2, rook f5, king e2. Very important that there's no check rook e5. Because if rook was on here, then rook e6 check and then come back, e6 check, come back, that would be a draw. So c2, king c1, f2, rook f5, king e2, king c2, promote, takes, my king is on f1, white's king is on c2, king b3, king e2, king b4, king e3, king b5, king d4, king c6, and king e5. That's the win. c2, f2. The puzzle stopped here because there are multiple moves that are winning now, but it's still very important. You need to calculate very fast, because if the pawn was on b4, that would be still would be a loss. King b3, king e2, king b4, king d3. No, king back to b3, king d4, king back to c2. So with the pawn on b4, that would be a draw, but with pawn on b5, we're gonna attack the pawn from d4, which is very important. Too bad the line goes king c3, king e2, king b4, king d3, king b5, and attacking from e4 is a big mistake because king come back to c4 and it's in time to go to d3 and win the opposition. So we go to d4, and now white is not even close to reaching d3, and king c6 loses to king to e5. I hope you find it interesting. Let me know. Next one. Really? Mate in one? What's this? Okay, it just wanted me to not wait 20 seconds. Okay, no comments here. This is just mate in one. Let's go further. Okay, that is mate in two. Discover check. You just have to pick the f6 square to cover the d7 one. Okay, no time. Okay, this one. White is materially down because white has two bishops and black has rooks and a lot of pawns. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's a mouse slip, of course. I'm gonna try again. So, what forcing moves do I have? I have bishop takes d8, but I don't want to settle for that. I want to get more. So rook e6. If pawn takes, it's queen to e6, queen e7. Mate. If rook e6, king goes to d7. How do I proceed? Let me see. My rook is here. The king is there. How do I proceed? Rook e7, king c8, bishop f5. Not bishop f5. Queen takes c6. Yeah, that's the one. Queen c6. That was important. By the way, yeah, I should have started with undefended pieces. The pawn on c6. You would have never guessed that undefended pawn on c6 matters. It does matter. Otherwise, the checkmate would be very hard to make. One more. Okay, I'm not gonna click on pieces. I'm just gonna click on squares. Yes, right click. Okay, same number of pieces. Undefended pieces, queen, semi-protected. Well, d5 is poorly protected, e5 semi-protected. What else? Back rank problem for white, and f2 is already a big threat, so we don't really have that many options. Okay, and I click like this, and everything is removed. All right. So what do I do? What forcing moves do I have? Knight d5, rook d5, rook takes e4. What else? And f2 is hanging. I don't see a win yet. Wow. Okay, f2 is hanging, and I can protect it and play knight takes d5, which attacks the queen and attacks the knight on e4 and protects from f2. So it seems to me knight d5 would be a win. Knight d5, rook d5, rook d5. Knight is hanging. Yep. Oh, knight f2, desperate attempt from black. All right. 20 minutes. 20 minutes? Yes, about 20 minutes. What's this? White is materially down, but this pawn is about to promote. So white just needs to make sure that there are forks in place. How do we do that? So d7 is the first move to consider. Rook d5, and then look for forks, but I don't see any forks. So what else can I do? What else can I do? Wow, I'm slow today. d7, rook d5, one more forcing move, knight f5 check. So if rook takes f5, we promote. If king g4, it's knight e3 fork. So king has to go to h5. And what do I do next? King h5. I push g4 and I force him into a fork. That's a good one. That's a nice one. Okay, I enjoyed that one. 1 minute on average. All right. Knight is a very... so I want to talk a little bit about the knight, because I think it is a very dangerous piece in time trouble. And the reason is how our brains are working, in my view. So I see all the pieces playing straightforward. They are all walking or running in straight lines. Whether it's queen, all the pieces are playing in straight lines. Diagonals, verticals, and horizontals, that's it. Knight is jumping very illogically to our brain, so it's very hard for us to intuitively understand those moves. Just like with the rook, we know exactly where it can land in one or in two moves. But with knight, so I'll give you a illustration. So with the rook, we know where the rook can end up in two moves, right? In one move, even children know. In two moves, it's a bigger number of squares. So the number of squares that this knight from d5 can land in two moves is very weird. So c6, e6, all these squares it can go to. It can go here, 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 and here. Except black ones, of course, because, well, knight has to switch colors. So these are the squares the knight can land in two moves, which means it can fork two pieces that are standing. This is basically all white squares when the knight is in the center. That's why they say you put the knight in the center. From there, it can, in one move, attack almost any square. So we are talking about landing on that square. In one move, the knight can attack all of those squares. For our brain, it's our basic. Okay, sorry, g6, of course, not. So only the ones that, and b5, but our pieces there. So only diagonally one or this diagonal and this diagonal. So each diagonal, it cannot cover. All the other squares it can attack on next move. It's ridiculous, right? It's very even hard to comprehend. I never looked at it that way. If you do tactics on Learning Bow, you can set the rating of tactics to about 4,000. It's unrated though. Yeah, I know I can do that, but I wanted to drop my rating to a certain point. Maybe I would do that in the future. Thank you, Sanjay. So that's why for our brain it's very easy to blunder a fork. And so I'm just talking about the move that immediately makes a fork. Two moves away, that's a ridiculous number. If we want to cover, I didn't do that research, by the way. If I want to cover how many squares it can attack on next move or on second, so for example, on first move it is attacking a pawn, and on next move it's making a fork. It would be almost full board the knight could cover in two moves. That's why it is very hard for our brain to not blunder a fork. You know, like in the final of World Cup, you can look up that game, Dink Rajabov. Dink was pressing the whole game, but lost because he blundered a fork. He blundered that the knight would attack a pawn and threaten a fork to his king and bishop. There were two pieces on the board left, bishop versus knight. The position was drawn, but since it was a knight and he was in time trouble, he lost that game. And after that, he lost. I missed b5. Thank you. And d7. Yeah. So basically, almost all white squares knight can attack on next move. which is in 2 moves, it's ridiculous. It would be the whole board basically. That's why knights, I would say that, you know, they say 2 bishop advantage, but I would say there's a 2 knight advantage in a blitz game, or when your opponent is in time trouble, because people blunder forks all the times. People, even top grandmasters, Ding for example, can blunder, but they would never blunder a skewer or a pin, you know, no, because these are straight lines, and knight is just ridiculously difficult to comprehend his next move, or all the squares it can cover in 1, 2, or even 3 moves. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm gonna play blitz. I don't feel like playing blitz, so sorry if you wanted to see me playing blitz. I'm gonna do a few more puzzles, and then I'll end the stream. All right, what's this? Black is 1 rook down and 1 pawn down. Unprotected pieces, the queen, which is very important, and the bishop can be captured right now, and the king is very vulnerable. There's a check here, there's a check here, and there's a check here. And it is very tempting to give this check. The rook is attacked, I give check, I take the pawn. No, that's wrong. You go bishop c5 check, and then you take the queen. Hold on a second. Bishop c5, king h1, queen takes, bishop takes. If king is on h1, I go queen h6, and that would, no, rook a4, bishop d4, I win that bishop. But if check, king goes here, I think I can take on g2, I take on g2. Take on g2, king h1, queen e6, bishop h4, queen h3 mate. Okay, so the line goes like this, bishop to c5. I don't see a mate, so I'll settle for the extra queen. Bishop to c5 check, king h1 is the one. Queen takes e6, bishop takes h4. It's too early to stop because white has rook and 2 pieces, rook and 1 piece. Oh my goodness. That's why I don't want to play blitz. I cannot even count the pieces. But I can still win that bishop. So check, takes. Okay, it would be more interesting to continue with bishop h4. Although black still has a very strong attack, but I think queen h6 is the only move that wins the game on the spot. All right, one more. White is exchanged down for the 1 pawn. Undefended pieces, the pawn on b5. Semi-protected, the bishop on a1. The king is exposed to checks. The pawn on d7 is basically a queen. All right, and our knight is hanging. Okay, so what forcing moves do I have? I have checks with my bishop. And I have knight b6. Yeah, that's the magic of the knight. Magic of the knight. All right, bishop f4 check. The only move for black is to take our valuable pawn, but we just talked about the knight, knight b6 check, then takes the rook, and because the bishop is semi-protected, the game is just ending right there. Otherwise, it would continue a little bit. Because b takes a, if bishop is not hanging, this is not resigned yet. It's just, white would have to show some accuracy. All right. Okay, 1 piece down for black and 1 pawn down for black. The bishop on c6 could be captured right now. The queen is undefended. The king is exposed to checks. The knight on f3 is semi-protected. What else? Rook on a1 is undefended. Okay, I want to give checkmate here somehow. Let me see what I can do. I could just simply take, and that would be awesome, but maybe there's something better than that. I do have this check, I do have this check. Both would be met with rook to e2. I don't see a win yet. I would just take with the bishop on c6, and with the threat of bishop b5, with the threat of queen d3, bishop f3 maybe. Yeah, I think just bishop takes, but I don't like it. If that's the solution, yeah. What can white do after bishop takes? It's very hard. Queen d3 is coming. Bishop b5 is coming. And the queen is basically trapped already. After bishop c6, bishop to b6 is a threat. So yes, that's the one. Yeah. This threat, and this threat. Way too many threats for white to handle. One more. What is this? Equal material, finally. Finally we have same number of pieces. Oh, you cannot even see my rating. Hold on a second. I can do like this. Is it better? If anyone cares about my rating. All right. So, same number of pieces. The bishop is undefended, the rook is undefended, the king is exposed to checks. Forcing moves. Rook b7 check, and the pawn should promote basically automatically. Should promote automatically. So rook b7, if king f6, it's rook f7 check, and then g7. But then, and then rook to f8, and then it should promote. Do I have anything else here? I have this move, rook to e6, but it just gives black option of d3. So I don't see anything better than give check. If king f6, give another check. Let's say king e5, and I push g7, and that pawn is unstoppable. Yeah. One more moment, because the bishop is undefended and I do have an skewer, but my bishop is undefended and defending it takes time. So it's just g7, and here rook f8 should decide. One moment. Okay, Valery does care about my rating. Okay, rook f8 it is. And the rook has no good place to go, so it should go forward maybe, and then white slowly moves the bishop away or protects it and then slowly promotes it. Although, hold on a second, if rook d6, what would be the fastest way? Because this pawn is still going. Maybe bishop d3, it would be the nicest one. Just bishop d3, protect the bishop and then promote. All right. What's this? White is one piece down for maybe a pawn. The king is exposed to discover check. The queen is undefended. There's a discover check. I think that's all you need to know about this position. All right, in how many moves it's made? Hold on a second. Bishop takes, king takes, e5, king f5, queen d3, king g4. Where's the mate? Queen f3, king back to f5, queen e4, king g4, f5 check, still no mate. Hold on a second, I want to find the mate. Where's the mate? Bishop f6, king f6, e5, d5, fe5, that's a mate right there. King f5, queen d3, king g4. I do have queen e2 or queen f3, if it makes any difference. King back to f5, queen e4 check, king to g4, f5 check, king h5. I can take the bishop, but that's no mate. Hold on, where's my mate? Does anyone see the mate? In a blitz game, of course, you take on f6, you push e5, and then you figure stuff out. But I want to see it from here. Maybe there's some very often there could be like a deadly quiet move that I may be missing. Yeah, I don't see. I don't see an immediate mate. I do not see. Bishop f6, king f6. I don't have any other moves except bishop f, bishop h4, king f8, bishop h6. King takes h6, so it's only bishop takes f6 because king f8 is coming. King f6, the king is out in the field. e5, king f5. It would be very bad if it just stops after e5, king f5, but I really want to see a mate. Queen d3, king g4. It should be right there. Queen f3, king f5. This is what happens. I keep calculating same variations over and over again. Queen e4, king g4, f5, king h5, f6, queen moves. I don't see a mate. That is very weird. Do I go e5 now? Nah. Yeah, I could include e5 first. And if d takes e5, then bishop takes f6. So I do have option on first move. e5, but black would run with the king to f8. I go e takes f6, the queen goes away. I still have huge advantage, but then there's d3 check, discover check. I don't like it. Huh. Maybe e5, king f8, bishop f6. Queen moves. This is still not a win. I'm confused now. I did not expect this to be Okay, probably I'm tired because I didn't calculate pieces even properly. E5, king f8, I don't like it. Or d3 check first and then some knight g4 jumps. I don't like that. Rook takes h2. I don't like that. I don't like to calculate that. Bishop f6, king f6. e5, king f5, queen d3, king g4. The king is already there. Quiet move, rook f3, but I don't see a threat. h3 check, king h5, I don't see a threat. Queen f3 check, king f5. Come on, the king is right in our arms. Queen e4 check, king g4. Yeah, maybe I'll get this one wrong. It's too long anyway. Okay, I'm gonna take. I'm gonna give a check and I'm gonna give a check. Oh, come on. I'm gonna click on analysis. Queen d3, okay. How do I run it? Depth 15, self-analysis, details, run. Okay, king g4. Why don't I see the moves? Okay, I'm very used to doing stuff on lichess. Run report, what's this? King f3, king e4, f5, king h5. Yes, and just keep checking. Okay. Okay, I wasted a little bit. Rook a8 blunder. Thank you, I knew that. Yes, I want out. Okay, one more and I don't like my rating, too many sixes. So, click show lines. Okay, thank you. Next to self-analysis. All right. Sorry for that. It just drove me crazy that's... Oh, come on. This is mate in 3. Really? Check, queen takes, and queen takes on g6. No. I want more. Okay. Okay. That would be the final one for today. I'm gonna take it slow. Same number of pieces. The bishop is undefended. The king is exposed, although none of the checks make sense at this moment, but the fact that their file is opened is a big deal. And basically this is about the bishop on f6 being in trouble. So what forcing moves do I have? I have rook c7, but then queen c7 and there's no good follow-up. Rook f8 just loses, rook g7 nothing. So basically the only reasonable forcing options that white have is queen to f6, threatening mate in 1. And yeah, actually we're not threatening the bishop because rook takes f7. And we're not threatening to take on f7 because c7. It's just we're just going to give mate. So what can black do? If black takes our rook, we take the rook with a check. Now where the king is weak is being exposed. King h8, queen back to f6, and we finally win that bishop. So queen f6, bishop f8 is the move. Stop taking care of the bishop and stopping queen g7. And I think there would be many winning options, but I think it would be time to include our guy on g1 because I don't see a forcing, like a hit and win something. We're just gonna play bishop h2 forcing move. And the rook is hanging. Black cannot take that one because checkmate would come, so black would have to make an awful move like rook to e7 or something, and then our bishop can land on e5, and finally all our pieces would be in the attack. I forgot to mention what are the problems in white's position. In white's position, yeah, thank you Sanjay, that you were faster than I was. So the king is exposed to checks on queen f6, pawn on e3, but there's a bishop. There's really not much to talk about. If the pawn was on b6, maybe queen a6 at least was worth considering. But oh, come on, bishop f8. Yeah. All right. That would conclude today's stream. I hope you like what you saw. Actually, what I'm gonna recommend is what I'm just doing. This algorithm of finding tactics is not useful for children in my view. It's because children should feel it intuitively. You don't need to explain it every step of the way. For children, you just give, or relatively weak players or beginners, you just solve hundreds and thousands of positions, and then you would get this intuition without any precise steps to follow. You will just be right there, I saw the win. You don't need all these steps. So these steps that I'm taking are useful for already adult players who are feeling that their calculation is not so good, and already develop that intuitive feeling is very hard. So that's why I recommend it for those players. It actually hurt me a little bit when I started to put all my thoughts on precise shelves to figure out how am I doing that. And Valeria is wondering how to find out moves like bishop h2 in tactics. Forcing moves every step of the way, not only captures and checks, but threats as well. Bishop h2 is a threat to win the whole rook in that particular position, so that would be my advice. Usually all the tactics is about forcing moves only, like very hard tactics involves like a quiet move with no threat whatsoever. This is really difficult for us. So I would recommend this algorithm for already accomplished players who have this difficulty in tactics, but not necessarily for children. Thank you for watching. You can read more in the description of the video. Support my channel in any way you feel comfortable with. Stay safe, take care, stay home. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.